The story begins in the world of Elath, where a great war rages between humans and immortals. At the center of this battle is the showdown between the strongest from both sides, the human hero Graham and the demon lord Velto. Normally, such a battle would be meaningless since Velto is immortal. However, Graham's holy sword deals a blow strong enough to overcome Velto's regenerative abilities. As his body begins to disintegrate, Velto expresses disbelief that he lost to a mortal who is supposedly weaker in every way. Graham argues that mortality itself is what gives humans their strength. The knowledge that life is fleeting pushes them to be strong. Though Velto scoffs at the idea, Graham insists it's the reason for his victory. As Velto vanishes, he vows to return, and Graham says he'll be waiting if that ever happens. Fast forward to the present. Velto awakens from his long slumber and is greeted by a girl named Machina, who has been waiting 500 years to bring him back. She apologizes for her appearance, but Velto doesn't mind. He is grateful she successfully performed the reincarnation ritual. Velto immediately wants to reclaim the world, but Machina tells him that the old world no longer exists. About 80 years ago, the worlds of Elath and Earth collided in a catastrophic event that wiped out 90% of the population and caused governments to collapse. Now, cities function as independent states, and after combining Earth's technology with Elath's magic, humanity has progressed even further. When a man nearly bumps into them, Velto is furious that a mere mortal dared touch one of his elite followers, one of the 6 dark peers, and decides to remind the world of his power. He casts a spell that blasts a hole through the clouds, but instead of fearing him, people just think he's using weather magic for fun. An alarm goes off and Machina quickly pulls him away, explaining that magic use is banned within city limits. She tells Velto that after his death, a ceasefire was established, but when the 2 worlds merged, immortals became persecuted. Humanity declared that immortals weren't deserving of basic rights, treating them like monsters. As humans advanced, they developed anti-immortal tech, forcing Machina to go into hiding since she was one of the few who could bring Velto back. Velto notices she hasn't mentioned someone named Marcus, which makes her nervous. She dodges the topic and goes to get him a drink. While waiting, Velto sees strange lights floating toward a girl who suddenly hijacks every screen in the city. Intrigued, he confronts her and reveals he saw ether fluctuations around her during the incident. She's shocked that he could detect her actions so easily. When he introduces himself as the demon lord Velto, she doesn't believe him, but blushes when he compliments her intelligence. Velto asks if she knows Marcus, and she points him to a skyscraper where Marcus is now CEO of a major company. At the building, Marcus's secretary Kinara greets Velto, and on the way up, he notices a mascot on her shirt, which she explains is Ishari, the face of their magic tech company. At the top, Velto meets Marcus, who stays seated, an act Velto finds disrespectful. Velto demands Marcus help him rebuild the immortal kingdom, but Marcus laughs and refuses. When Velto prepares to attack, Kinara suddenly tries to cut him, and Velto barely dodges. Marcus scolds her but mocks Velto's weakness, saying the old Velto wouldn't need to dodge. Marcus shows Velto a device on his neck, the Familia, which allows humans to bypass most steps of magic casting. This gives ordinary people incredible power and speed, making them faster than even Velto. Moreover, the device is designed to not work for higher beings like Velto, preserving the human advantage. Velto is stunned that Marcus, once his subordinate, is now so much stronger. Marcus reveals he has always hated Velto, jealous of how superior he used to be. He attacks Velto with magic and knocks him out of the building, thinking he's killed him. But Velto survives, though his regeneration is much weaker. Disoriented, he stumbles into a group and gets thrown into a garbage pile. Machina eventually finds him and apologizes for hiding Marcus's betrayal. Velto says it wouldn't have changed his decision to confront Marcus. She takes him to her apartment, and he's surprised it's a small, cramped space, all she could afford while waiting centuries for his return. Touched by her loyalty, he hugs and thanks her. The story then flashes back to centuries ago when Machina, exposed as an immortal, was being executed by her own people. As they pushed her into a volcano, Velto suddenly appeared, and saved her. In the present, Machina wakes Velto up for breakfast. He's amazed at how good the food tastes, which makes her happy. He asks if she knows where the other immortals are, and she tells him that while a few have survived, many have gone missing recently, including her close friends. She found signs of struggle in one of their rooms, along with a note referencing something called the Immortal Furnace. Velto spills some tea, blaming it on his slowed regeneration. He admits he's still weakened and can't use his magic properly. Machina explains it's because the source of his power, faith, has largely disappeared in the modern world. Without people believing in him or directing strong emotions toward him, his strength wanes. Still, Velto isn't worried. As an immortal, he believes he can always rebuild his influence. To help him adjust to the new world, Machina takes him shopping. At the store, Velto is surprised that the place seems empty, but she tells him to step on a 3D scanner that helps find the best clothes. Although she feels bad about not affording fancy clothes, Velto brushes it off, saying he can make anything look good. He lets her pick his outfit, and her familia, a magical AI-like device, suggests a tracksuit with an old inscription on the back that translates to the Demon Lord. Velto is pleased. He tries to pay, but Machina explains the transaction was automatic, thanks to the familia. She then explains more about the device. It aids in communication, shopping, magic use, and more. It has essentially replaced smartphones. Velto touches the one on her neck, curious, and she gets a notification about her elevated heart rate, but ignores it. Velto considers finding a job. Machina offers to work extra shifts instead, but he refuses, saying he won't let her support them alone. He's determined to rebuild himself, and even conquer the world again. She pledges her loyalty to him once more. As Velto heads out to look for work, Machina gives him a device to contact her and make payments. While thinking about what kind of job he could get, his stomach growls. He's hungry for the first time ever. Realizing how much his power has declined, he shouts that he needs a job and is willing to do anything. A man overhears and points him to the commercial guild, but first asks if Velto has a citizen ID. When Velto doesn't, the man assumes he's an undocumented immigrant, but still hands him a job application and warns him to avoid companies under the Ishimaru group due to their bad reputation. At the guild, Velto is interviewed, but with no prior job experience. Besides ruling as a demon lord, he's told there are no available positions. Worse, he doesn't have a familia, and the guild only hires people with one. Disheartened, Velto returns to Machina and asks if she thinks he's useless in the modern world. She reassures him, saying those who rejected him simply can't comprehend his greatness. He asks if she knows anyone who could help, and she takes him to see some friends, Mach and Takahashi. Takahashi turns out to be the girl Velto met earlier. She finally believes he's really the demon lord since Machina always spoke of him. Velto notices Takahashi's familia is different and uses his sage eyes, a power that lets him analyze objects through mana, to study it. He understands the general function, but admits there's still a lot he doesn't know. He asks Takahashi if she can help him find a job. He wants something that will make his presence known to the world. She suggests he become a streamer. Velto has no idea what that is, so she explains it's where people broadcast themselves playing games, chatting, or singing, and they can earn money through ads and donations. She even offers to lend him her old streaming gear. Machina, however, is skeptical, thinking he should look for a more stable job. But Takahashi insists that Velto's good looks and voice will make him popular, which even Machina admits is true. Machina, used to living alone, accidentally walks out of the shower naked and apologizes in embarrassment. Velto tells her not to be ashamed and compliments her physique. Later, Takahashi arrives with the equipment and sets it all up. Machina is nervous, but Takahashi tells her to trust her plan. Velto tries out the setup. Instead of being taught how to use the controller, he uses Sage Eyes to instantly understand it. He picks a game, similar to Dark Souls, but dies almost immediately, and repeatedly. Takahashi thinks he's terrible at gaming, but Velto says he's just not used to the controller yet. Machina fears the plan is failing, but Takahashi disagrees. She says Velto's perfect appearance paired with terrible gameplay actually makes him stand out more. Since only a few streamers succeed in the oversaturated market, they decide he needs a unique catchphrase. Machina suggests one of his old war declarations, and Takahashi agrees it's a good start. Takahashi tells Velto he should stream daily, even if no one is watching, because it's the first step in building his legacy in the modern world. Takahashi tells Machina to stay out of the room while Velto streams, so viewers don't mistake her for his girlfriend. Velto continues streaming daily, and over time, his subscriber count steadily increases. Though not everyone enjoys his gameplay and he receives troll comments, Velto remains unaffected. Both praise and criticism fuel his power. Machina, however, struggles to tolerate the disrespect directed at her master. Eventually, Velto reaches 1 million subscribers and decides to try a new game. During a stream, someone is shown spying on Machina. After he finishes the game, a viewer comments on how angry he looked, but Velto jokes that if he were truly raging, the whole world would have been destroyed. Later, Velto goes for a walk while Machina stays behind to prepare dinner. On the street, he is shocked to see the hero Graham among the homeless. Flashbacks reveal Graham's past. He once cared for his sick sister and went out to gather herbs. His father gave him a sword for protection. On his way back, Graham saw an army of dragonfolk, led by one of Velto's generals, and was stunned. But his shock turned to horror when he found his home burned down and his family killed. From that moment, he vowed to destroy Velto. Back in the present, Velto invites Graham to a noodle shop and praises the food, though Graham shows little interest. Graham remarks on the irony of eating with the man who destroyed his life. Velto responds that he too lost many allies to Graham, but he no longer holds hatred toward him. When Velto asks how Graham is still alive, Graham explains that the goddess Melia granted him eternal youth after the war, though he's still human. Graham recounts that after the war, civil conflict broke out. He was forced to kill those he once protected, and when peace returned, he was exiled. He asks Velto why he sought to rule the world, and Velto replies that it was for peace, shocking Graham. Velto explains that immortals were once mortals, and his goal was to rise above everyone and bring order through strength. Graham disagrees with Velto's version of peace and leaves, thanking him for the meal but glad they talked. As Velto returns home, he hears Takahashi arguing with an ogre in an alley. The ogre moves to attack her, but Velto intervenes, grabbing the ogre's arm. The ogre, remembering their past fight, mocks Velto. But Velto wants to test his new powers now that he's gained 1 million subscribers. The ogre strikes, but Velto blocks the punch, though a wind attack breaks his arm. He quickly heals it and flicks the ogre into a trash pile. Takahashi thanks him and explains the ogre was supposed to be her bodyguard, but started demanding extra pay. She fires the ogre and hires Velto instead. Meanwhile, Marcus asks Kinara if anyone's sniffing around the immortal furnace. She assures him that any threats have been dealt with, and everything is on track. Later, Velto joins Takahashi on a mission. They arrive at a warehouse where she needs to retrieve an item. While she checks the data, Velto charges in, breaking the door and stumbling into a Yakuza operation. He asks if the glowing cube on the table is the target. Takahashi is surprised he's communicating with her despite not having a familia. Velto reveals he replicated the familia's ether communication with magic. Since the enemies are few, he plans to take them down quickly. He delivers his stream intro, but the gangsters don't recognize him and think he's just mocking them. They open fire, but Velto blocks their bullets with a magical barrier and retaliates, knocking them out one by one. When he attacks the boss, the man tries to shoot Velto, but Takahashi hacks the man's familia, tricking him into shooting his own partner. Velto finishes the boss with a powerful kick. As Takahashi approaches the cube, Velto suddenly senses danger and stops her. An invisible enemy attacks him, a giant mech. Velto shoots off its cloak, revealing a 4th-generation Magino gear used by special forces. Takahashi is shocked that the Yakuza could acquire such tech, suggesting a bigger threat is involved. Takahashi tells Velto they should run, but he wants to test his strength. The mech fires, and Velto dodges, returning fire with his magic. Though he lands a hit, it's not enough. He realizes his current power, fueled by his 1 million subscribers, has reached its limit. Still, he believes he can win. Drawing his sword, he charges the mech, which transforms its gun into a blade. They clash, but the mech goes full power, slicing off Velto's arm and head. The pilot reports the kill, but to their shock, Velto is still alive. He admits he's impressed but calls them inexperienced for letting their guard down. He summons his demonic sword, Vrl, paralyzing the mech with fear. Velto disables it by cutting off its limbs, calling it a good fight but one it never could have won. The pilot, ashamed of his failure, takes his own life. Velto is astonished at the strength modern weapons can give, but Takahashi thinks he's scarier than any machine. She spots the Ishimaru logo on the mech, realizing the job is more dangerous than expected. Velto asks about the cube. Takahashi explains it's a data storage device designed for Mythil. Inside, they find a list of immortal names, former allies of Velto. Thankfully, Makaina's name isn't on the list. Takahashi tries to contact her client Yu for more details but can't reach him. She decides they'll have to visit him in person. Velto agrees, saying that as king, it's his duty to protect the immortals. Velto and Takahashi arrive at a large apartment building. Using her hacking skills, Takahashi bypasses security, and they enter. Velto eagerly asks to press the elevator buttons, saying he enjoys it, which she finds odd. However, she explains they can't go directly to the 13th floor and must follow a specific button sequence to reach it. When they arrive, Takahashi stops Velto from going in immediately, warning about traps. Velto uses his powers to detect and disarm all magical and physical traps, surprising her. He explains that, as a demon lord, he once built and maintained dungeons, so he's very familiar with trap mechanisms. They reach Yu's apartment and ring the bell, but no one answers. Velto notices the door is ajar, which Takahashi finds unusual since Yu is normally very cautious. A foul smell inside confirms Velto's suspicion that something's wrong. They find Yu's corpse, and Velto recognizes him from a past encounter, though Yu had always disguised himself as a homeless person. Velto inspects the body and determines he was killed a few days ago. While Takahashi suspects an enemy attack, Velto believes it was a professional hit. They also find that Yu's familia has been destroyed, which leads Takahashi to suspect the killer's goal was to erase all stored data. However, she reveals Yu was an information broker and an ether hacker, meaning he likely made a backup. They find a hidden drawer containing a backup drive. Oddly, there's no password, but the files appear corrupted. Velto realizes the folder structure hides a real file. They discover a video message from Yu. In the video, Yu reveals the city runs on an ether reactor powered by energy drawn from the planet's core. The reactor was supposed to tap into 10 ether lines, but only has access to 2, making it unable to sustain the entire city. To solve this, the Immortal Furnace project was launched. Immortals are incinerated to convert their souls into ether, which produces vastly more energy than mortals. The project secretly hired outsiders and homeless people to build it, only to kill them afterward. Yu calls this practice horrific, noting the Ishimaru Corporation refers to immortals as firewood. The first immortal sacrificed was the Dark Panel. Immortal hunts were a front to gather more victims, and now the corporation is running low, which is why they sought the list of remaining immortals from the Yakuza. Yu leaves the decision of what to do with the information to whoever finds it, saying only the Demon Lord could possibly stop the project. Velto considers leaking the information, but Takahashi warns that it would just get erased, and she'd likely be killed like Yu. Velto decides it's his duty as King of the Immortals to take responsibility. They agree to report the body to the authorities, and Velto says he must inform Machina, but he can't reach her, which worries him. Meanwhile, Machina is at the apartment, planning dinner when Marcus arrives. A huge explosion erupts. Marcus accuses her of attacking first, and they clash. Machina transforms into her combat form and blasts off Marcus's arm, but he regenerates and summons more swords. Machina defends with a barrier, but Kanara joins the fight. Though Machina escapes one blast, Kanara stabs her from behind after Marcus disables her familia. He reveals he used his new advanced familia to hack into hers, exploiting a hidden backdoor all familias share. Machina is powerless. Back at the apartment, Velto returns and sees the aftermath of the explosion. Takahashi hacks into local drone footage and discovers Marcus is responsible and is now transporting Machina, likely to the Immortal Furnace. Takahashi warns the area will be heavily guarded, but Velto says he knows someone who can help. Velto finds Graham and kneels, asking for help to save Machina. He explains the immortals are being burned to power the city. Graham says destroying the reactor might doom the city. Velto, however, insists on saving both Machina and the city, declaring it his duty as Demon Lord. Graham agrees to help, saying it's his job as a hero to protect the weak. Takahashi guides them to an underground route leading to the reactor. Velto worries they don't have time to clear a dungeon, but Graham uses a special skill to map it out instantly. Velto jokes about how much pride he used to take in dungeon building, and they briefly bicker before Takahashi reminds them to focus. Machina's life is at stake. They take the fastest route, and Velto asks Takahashi if she's ready. She replies she needs more time, so they'll have to stall. As they approach the reactor via elevator, communication with Takahashi is lost due to interference. Graham observes that Velto has grown stronger. Velto self-deprecates, but Graham says the old Velto would never have humbled himself for a vassal. They reach the reactor where Kanara greets them, surprised to see them. Meanwhile, Marcus confronts the captured Machina under the ether reactor. He shows her the immortal furnace and explains it powers the city by destroying immortal souls, a true death for beings like her. He taunts her with the fact that her friends were burned alive as fuel, including Zen. Machina becomes enraged and attacks, but his barrier shields him. Marcus claims the immortal's sacrifice ensures the city's prosperity. He says only a few within the Ishimaru Corporation know of the furnace, and they've kept it hidden to avoid public backlash. Marcus tells Machina that they're running out of firewood, so he plans to burn her soul next, knowing it will provide enough energy to sustain the city until they find another source, especially since she's one of the 6 dark peers. Meanwhile, Kanara stands in Velto's way, determined to stop him, but she's shocked to see Graham with him. She never imagined the hero and the demon lord would fight side by side. Graham admits he's past his prime but decides to face her. Velto warns him to be careful because of her swordsmanship, but Graham isn't worried. He reminds Velto that he used to be the strongest swordsman in Alth. Kanara suddenly appears behind Graham and strikes with a lightning slash, but he blocks her. Velto rushes toward the furnace, and when Kanara tries to stop him, Graham intervenes. Velto tells Graham not to die and jumps into the pit. Kanara mocks Graham, saying his time is over, but he responds that he'll keep fighting as long as people need him. She activates her prototype 5th-generation Magino gear, blinding Graham with a flash of light before launching him away. She boasts that the gear is superior but admits it has a flaw. Its operating time depends on the user's mana. Their battle intensifies. Kanara belittles him, calling him outdated, but Graham argues that experience and resolve matter more than flashy equipment. He notices that she must sheathe her sword before using her magic, which slows her down. Impressed by his observation, Kanara continues attacking, but Graham creates earth spikes to trap her. Though she escapes, he follows up with a frost nova, immobilizing her, and lands a fireball. Even though she survives the blast, Graham stays calm, knowing his tactics are effective even if his spells aren't overwhelming. Kanara becomes frustrated, wondering why she can't win. Graham declares he won't be defeated so easily because he's the hero. She prepares a powerful attack and mocks his old sword, but he says it will shine as long as people need him. Channeling his ultimate attack, his sword bursts with energy, engulfing the area in light. Despite the impact, Kanara remains standing. Graham admits her gear is impressive, but his 500 years of experience gave him the edge. Kanara wonders why Graham isn't with Velto, believing Velto doesn't stand a chance against Marcus. But Graham assures her that Velto has a trump card no one else knows about, and that he'll win once he uses it. She begs him to end her life, but he refuses, saying there's no point in killing someone who can't fight anymore. Suddenly they're attacked by a group of mechas, and Graham shields her with a barrier, preparing to fight. Back at the furnace, Marcus prepares to sacrifice Machina. He reveals his ambition to become the next demon lord by eliminating all immortals. As he lets her fall into the furnace, she recalls her memories with Velto and silently wishes him well, admitting she loves him. Just before she hits the bottom, Velto appears and saves her, apologizing for being late. Velto confronts Marcus, asking if he has any justification for his crimes. Marcus says he doesn't. Velto offers him a final chance to serve, but Marcus refuses, prompting Velto to fight. Marcus attacks with blood swords, but Velto deflects them. They explode in smoke, and the battle begins. Marcus realizes Velto is using strengthening magic, which can't be cancelled once active. Despite Marcus's furious attacks, Velto manages to destroy his arms and head, but Marcus quickly regenerates. He reveals that Velto was targeting his familia and gloats that he has none, detonating blood on Velto's body and badly injuring him. As Marcus readies a finishing blow, Velto begins to emit dark energy. Velto acknowledges Marcus for pushing him this far, making him only the second person to do so. He offers Marcus another chance to serve, but Marcus again refuses, claiming he'll rule the world after killing the remaining immortals. Velto starts transforming, and Marcus attempts to use his blood sword, but nothing happens. Velto laughs and tells him to feel honored. Only Graham has seen his second form. His body transforms, and he tells Marcus to prepare for the end. Meanwhile, Takahashi takes control of every screen in the city, broadcasting a live stream of Velto. Citizens recognize him from his streaming persona. She remembers how he asked her to increase his faith power by making him popular. Though she's tired, she's happy to have helped and hopes he can save Machina. Everyone across the city watches the stream. Back at the battle, Velto transforms into a massive beast. Marcus panics, but Velto calmly explains he can only use this form when his ether and faith levels are high. Marcus still believes Velto can't win, especially since Graham was defeated, but when he tries to use his blood magic again, it fails. Velto reveals he's now capable of casting magic without incantations and can copy the abilities of Familia thanks to Marcus's own tech. Marcus accuses him of lying, but his magic continues to fail. His mouth suddenly explodes, and Velto decides he's heard enough. Velto cuts him into pieces, but Marcus regenerates, so Velto begins torturing him. Strange creatures start to reach out to Marcus as the torment continues. Velto reveals that he has infiltrated Marcus's familia and is now feeding false visions into his mind. Marcus panics and begs Velto to stop, promising to serve him again. But Velto reminds him that he already refused his offer twice. Velto stabs Marcus, who realizes he's about to fall into the furnace. Velto cruelly tells him he's about to become firewood. Marcus tries to reason with him, saying they're not so different since Velto also sacrifices his fellow immortals, but Velto dismisses that, calling Marcus a notorious villain and the demon lord. Desperate, Marcus throws his blood at Velto and unleashes his most powerful explosion, but it fails. Velto bids him farewell and throws him into the furnace, where his body is incinerated. With Marcus dead, Machina's restraints vanish. Velto returns to his original form and asks her if she was scared of his appearance. She admits she was, but says it suits him perfectly as a demon lord. Velto reflects on his weakness, but says it led him to discover the light of immortality in her. He confesses his love for her, and she says she feels the same. Later, we see Velto playing a brutally difficult video game. Despite struggling, he finally beats the final boss and celebrates, proving his doubters wrong. He reveals he's been playing for 72 hours straight and thanks his viewers for sticking with him before ending his stream. Machina joins him, impressed by his dedication, but tells him to take breaks every 24 hours so they can spend more time together. Velto proudly says he now has over 3 million subscribers. When she offers to celebrate, he declines, saying he already unlocked his second form, though it's only useful against immortals. Velto wants to find the remaining 3 dark peers, noting that Marcus never bragged about defeating them, so they might still be alive. He considers checking the dark peer records to track them, but learns from Machina that the records were lost after his defeat. He decides they need to search for it. Suddenly the doorbell rings, and Takahashi arrives. Velto is surprised she's still in high school and worries about her safety, but she insists she can help. She tells him she watched his entire 72-hour stream and suggests he post highlight clips for viewers who missed it. When she asks what they plan to do next, Velto tells her about the dark peer records. She gets excited, treating it like a treasure hunt, and offers to gather intel. Takahashi uses artificial spirits from her familia to search possible locations and finds a lead in Akihabara City. She points them to Luzelle Magic Academy, which was founded after the Immortal War, and has a hidden treasury sealed for 500 years. Velto believes the Dark Pier records are inside. Takahashi volunteers to handle security while they sneak in, but Machina points out that it's illegal. Velto suggests enrolling as students instead, and Takahashi agrees, saying she can alter their documents to gain admission. They travel to Akihabara City and are greeted at the train station by a robot that demands Velto's ID. He gets annoyed and almost attacks it, but Takahashi lets it scan his ID, allowing them to pass. Velto admires the city's beauty, comparing it to a Nath, and notices magical prosthetics being sold. Machina explains that people are replacing body parts with machines. At Luzelle, they meet the principal, Gotel, who inspects their forged documents. Takahashi gets nervous because Gotel is the head of one of Akihabara's 3 great houses and controls half the city. However, Gotel accepts the documents and asks why they chose Luzelle. Takahashi fumbles for an answer, but Velto tells the truth. He wants to see the hidden treasury. Takahashi panics, but Gotel is impressed by his honesty and agrees to let him try, explaining that the treasury has been sealed for 500 years and can only be opened by the 3 house leaders using their regalia. She shows Velto her sword, one of the keys, and says she'll unlock the treasury if he finds the other regalia. She, too, is curious about what lies inside. Later they meet their teacher, Mag, who tells Takahashi to remove her familia accessory since it's not allowed at school. Mag explains the academy's goal of producing top-tier sorcerers and takes them to class. She introduces them and gives Velto a mana crystal to measure his power. He warns it might break, but she laughs it off, only for it to shatter instantly when he touches it. Mag lectures the class about spirit channeling, saying it's taboo but essential knowledge. She notices Velto not taking notes and scolds him, but he replies that he already memorized everything. To test him, she asks a historical question, and Velto gives a flawless answer, impressing the class. Meanwhile, a strange girl named Isuki eats lunch alone while hearing others gossip about Velto. A boy named Albert mocks her, calling her the head of the fallen Rard clan and ridiculing her lack of magic talent. Albert taunts Isuki, claiming she doesn't belong at the academy and only got in because of her family's status as part of the 3 great houses. He mocks her lack of magical talent and even insults her parents, which visibly upsets her. When he says he's just being honest, Velto interrupts, telling him to shut up because he's trying to enjoy his bowl of udon in peace. Velto complains that Albert's hypocrisy has ruined his lunch. Albert then insults Velto's live streaming, calling it a fake job, but Velto casually thanks him for watching. Albert warns Velto to be careful with his words since he's addressing the heir of the Hams family. Velto recognizes the name and asks if Albert is a descendant of Gaul. When Albert confirms, Velto calls Gaul a coward for running away during a crucial battle, which angers Albert. Velto then tells him he has no right to look down on Isuki, claiming she has more talent than Albert. Albert refuses to believe it and challenges Velto to a duel to prove him wrong. We see Isuki waiting at the arena when Takahashi approaches and asks why everyone avoids her. Isuki explains that, despite her excellent theoretical grades, she can't use magic, so everyone sees her as a failure. Mokina is surprised that duels are allowed, but Isuki tells her the academy encourages them to train future battle mages. Mag arrives as the referee and tells Velto and Albert to wrap it up quickly since lunch break is nearly over. Velto tells Isuki to watch closely because he's about to win, but Albert warns him not to be arrogant. Albert claims he's the top student in magic, with A+ grades across all subjects. Velto still insists Isuki is more talented, although she doubts it because she's failed every practical test. Mokina believes the school's grading system is flawed, and she trusts Velto's judgment. Confident in his abilities, Velto imposes a handicap on himself. He won't move during the duel. He promises to do anything Albert asks if he loses, but if he wins, Albert must stop bullying Isuki. Albert agrees, convinced he'll win. Isuki begs Velto not to fight because she thinks he has no chance, but Mokina reassures her that Velto will crush Albert. When the duel starts, Albert prepares a powerful spell, and Mag tries to stop him, fearing it could be lethal, but Velto insists on continuing. Albert fires a magic arrow, but Velto catches and crushes it with one hand. Albert is stunned. Velto compliments Albert's talent and says he could become great with another 200 years of training. He even apologizes for insulting his ancestor. As a reward for Albert's hard work, Velto creates a tiny orb of compressed mana and flicks it at him, sending him flying. Isuki is shocked, and Mokina explains that it was a powerful attack, wasted on a mortal. Isuki can't believe a high schooler could do such a thing and wonders if Velto is even human. Mag declares Velto the winner. Later, Velto talks to Isuki, who thanks him but warns him to stay away, since she'll only bring trouble. As Velto and his friends stroll through the city, Takahashi notes how different Albert is from other people she's met. Mokina says it's because Akihabara retains strong ties to the culture of Anath. Takahashi expresses her dislike for it, saying she's glad to live in the modern era. Mokina suggests she return home, but Takahashi insists on staying because she wants to see what's in the treasury. She asks Velto if he can unlock it with magic. He says he could, but doing so by force would destroy the contents. They need the regalia instead. Takahashi explains that she researched and found that one regalia is held by the Electric Town representative, but one is still missing. Velto believes Isuki can help since her family, the Reynard clan, likely lost their regalia, which led to their decline. They travel to Electric Town, which is completely different from the rest of the city. Takahashi warns that they might get lost and offers to guide them, saying she knows a place to gather intel. She brings them to a maid cafe, where waitresses chat with customers. Velto questions how this helps, and Takahashi explains that gossip spreads quickly among the maids, who talk to all sorts of people. Mokina is surprised by the cafe's atmosphere and the high prices. Takahashi says it's because customers are paying for the experience of being served by cute maids. Velto and Mokina, unfamiliar with the concept, find it odd since they're used to traditional butlers and maids. Takahashi mentions that her friend got banned from a maid cafe for being inappropriate, so she warns them to behave. Velto recalls Isuki's earlier warning to stay away, but Takahashi tells him to be patient since forcing her to talk might push her further away. Mokina says Isuki seems like a good person and wants to be friends with her. Takahashi uses a request system to summon a maid, choosing the one with the largest assets, and it turns out to be Isuki. They compliment her uniform, and Velto reminds her that they're the customers now. He jokingly tells her to mimic another maid, Manon, who dances while serving. Though embarrassed, Isuki takes the challenge seriously when she thinks Mokina is doubting her. She performs a cheerful dance while serving their food, and they're all impressed. Once the cafe empties, they drop the act, and Velto tells Isuki he needs her regalia to access the treasury. Isuki says she can't help because her family lost it long ago. Takahashi asks what the regalia is, and Isuki explains it's a symbol of sovereignty. 500 years ago, the goddess Melia gave it to Graham, but after being exiled, he passed it to a man who became Luzel's second king and ancestor of the three great houses. The regalia was then split between his three sons, leading to the formation of the three factions. Isuki reveals that internal conflict over wealth and power caused a rift among the houses, and while relations have improved over time, some tensions and grudges still remain. Hizuki believes there's nothing she can do since she lost her regalia, but Velto asks her to help arrange a meeting with the head of Sebel. She agrees, and Takahashi hugs her, then hears Hizuki's stomach growl and realizes she's hungry. They take her to a restaurant where she enjoys her meal. However, other patrons are surprised to see students from Magic Town there. Takahashi is impressed Hizuki managed to set up a meeting with Sebele's head, but Hizuki explains she can only bring one person. Velto volunteers to go. While Hizuki eats dragon meat, Velto initially refuses because a dragon once served under him. But after Hizuki teases him, he tries it with Machina and finds it delicious. After the meal, some local police confront them for being in Electric Town, but Goel shows up and tells the cops to leave them alone. She says they're just eating, and the officers back off. Goel then asks to speak with Hizuki privately. Goel tells Hizuki that she wants to adopt her so she can live a happy life, but Hizuki refuses, insisting she has a duty to protect the Reynard clan. Goel understands and assures her that she'll always be there for her. As she walks away, Hizuki hears a strange voice in her head again. Takahashi notices her unease, but Hizuki brushes it off. Later, Hizuki and Velto meet Muril, the assistant to Seble's leader. He scans them with his glasses and leads them to his master, Cornea. Velto is surprised to learn Cornea is a goblin, but Cornea doesn't care about bloodlines. He says he was once a merchant before the former head of Seble chose him as his successor. Velto explains they're searching for the regalia, and Cornea shows them his crown, which serves as House Seble's regalia. He reveals it contains fragments of the goddess Melia's soul, and that it can only be passed on if he forfeits ownership or dies. Velto jokes that he could just kill him to take it, causing some tension, before quickly saying it was a joke. Velto asks to borrow it so he can access the treasury, revealing that his ultimate goal is to rule the world. Cornea initially thinks he's crazy, but because Hizuki brought him, he chooses to trust Velto. He agrees to help, believing Velto can change Akihabara and move it past its outdated traditions. Cornea says all 3 regalia are required to open the treasury and become the city's true king. He then speaks with Velto privately, revealing a secret. He senses the law regalia is nearby. He urges Velto to help Hizuki, saying she's vulnerable and important to the city's future. He explains that Hizuki once received the orb regalia from the previous head of Seble when she was a child, meaning she may be the key to finding it again. Meanwhile, Machina visits a bookstore and finds a book she wrote about Velto somehow published. Embarrassed, she buys it to keep anyone else from reading it. Takahashi meets up with her, and they eat together. When Machina acts a bit motherly, Takahashi is confused. Machina reveals she's older and once treated a younger Dark Pierce member like a little sister. As they talk, Takahashi spots Goel and calls out to her, but Goel completely ignores her. Back with the group, Velto informs everyone that Cornea is now their ally thanks to Hizuki. As it gets late, the group decides to go to Hizuki's place for a sleepover. She's surprised by this, but they say they just want to know her better. In a flashback, we see Hizuki dealing with memory lapses that caused her to hurt those close to her, leading others to distance themselves. A doctor explained that the Reynard family has a natural connection to spirits, but her condition seemed to stem from something else, as there were no signs of spiritual possession. On her birthday, she was with her parents when she heard the mysterious voice again. Later, assassins attacked, killing her parents while she blacked out. Her mother managed to carry her to the hospital before dying, and at the funeral, Goel and Cornea discussed the orb regalia, knowing that Hizuki had inherited it. They worried she was too young to defend herself. Returning to the present, everyone arrives at Hizuki's home. She turns over a photo of her parents, not wanting it to be seen. They all relax and have drinks together. Takahashi wonders if the school knows about Hizuki's job, but Hizuki says she's keeping it a secret. Takahashi suggests they have a gaming tournament. Velto loves the idea, but Hizuki seems uninterested, until Velto taunts her, and she agrees to play. She easily beats him, calling him a noob, but suddenly experiences another memory lapse and realizes she went too far. Later, while the others are asleep, Hizuki prepares to take a bath, only to find Velto already in it. She tells him to call her when he's done, but he teases her, boasting about his body. She joins him, annoyed by his cocky attitude. She asks why he keeps getting involved in her life, and he says it's because he followed his heart. He believes they're friends now and admires her for how hard she works and how talented she is at gaming. He asks if she enjoyed spending time with them, and she admits she's happy they're around. He then brings up the photo she knocked down, asking if there's something she's hiding about her parents. Hizuki finally opens up and tells him everything. We return to a flashback. Hizuki wakes up on her birthday, unaware of the threats against her family. Her parents take her out shopping, but they're harassed by whispers accusing them of being traitors. On the way home, she blacks out again, and assassins strike. Her parents are killed, but she survives thanks to her mother's last act. At the funeral, Goel and Cornea discuss how Hizuki inherited the orb regalia and their fears about her safety. Back in the present, Hazuki shares that she's staying in Akihabara because her parents, who were nobles, wanted to live there. However, after losing everyone close to her, she started avoiding others, convinced she'd never find happiness. Velto thanks her for opening up and promises to forgive her no matter what. After their bath, Velto senses something and an assassin appears, introducing himself as Faceless. He tells Velto that his organization sees him as a threat because he defeated Marcus and offers a deal. They'll open the treasury for him if he agrees to leave Akihabara. Velto refuses, and Faceless warns him that the city is about to change before disappearing. Meanwhile, Goel visits Cornea, and after sending away his guards, she suddenly kills him, claiming she's there to take the crown. The news reports that Cornea died in an explosion, and that Goel murdered him, escalating tensions between Magic Town and Electric Town. Shocked, Hazuki confronts Goel, who is acting strange. Hazuki quickly realizes something's wrong and asks who she really is. At the academy, the students are summoned to the training hall, where a mysterious girl uses her powers to paralyze them, threatening to kill anyone who resists. Back with Hazuki, she discovers that Mag is controlling Goel's body. Mag reveals her mission is to gather all 3 regalia, and admits she used Goel's trust to lure her into a cybernetic clinic, where she took over her body. She threatens Hazuki, showing that she has control over the students at the academy. Mag restrains Hazuki on the rooftop, revealing that Melia's soul resides inside her. 10 years ago, when Mag attacked her, Melia took control of her body, which is why Hazuki has been hearing her voice. Hazuki's low mana pool is due to Melia constantly using it to maintain her presence. Mag also reveals that Hazuki's right eye isn't artificial, but is actually the orb regalia, implanted by her mother. Meanwhile, Velto instructs Albert to destroy the light controlling the students. With Takahashi's help, they free the students, and Makina defeats the girl who was holding them captive. Takahashi tells Velto that Hazuki is on the roof, so he rushes to help her. On the rooftop, Mag tells Hazuki that she was the one who orchestrated the deaths of everyone she loved. A beam of light pierces the sky as Melia takes over Hazuki's body. Elsewhere, Graham and Kanara witness the chaos spreading across the city. When they see Melia's light, they realize something terrible is happening. Back with Velto, he confronts Melia. She mocks him, but he recovers from her first attack and reveals that his regeneration ability has improved. However, when she slices off his arm, he realizes it's not healing. Her sword disables immortality. Velto deduces that Melia's power lets her control fate, which explains her uncanny luck and how she kept Graham from aging. Melia admits she tried to make Graham happy, but ended up making his life worse. Hazuki briefly regains control and begs Velto to help her. Melia regains dominance, but Velto prepares for one final confrontation. Meanwhile, Machina fights a mysterious girl named Anche, who turns out to be May, the youngest member of Dark Pierce. May appears to be immortal, and when Machina's attack fails, Mag suddenly arrives and puts May to sleep. She reveals that her superiors are interested in May, calling her a prototype, and teleports away with her. Back on the rooftop, Velto struggles to land a hit on Melia until he realizes that while she can nullify physical attacks, she must dodge magic because it can harm her. He concludes she's still vulnerable. When he confronts her about her feelings for Graham, she becomes emotional and lashes out. Velto prepares a powerful magic strike, reminiscent of Graham's style. Distracted by this, Melia hesitates, and Velto successfully stabs her with a soul-cutting sword. She reverts to Hazuki, who tearfully thanks him for helping her understand Graham's feelings. Velto comforts her as she fades. Later, with the city in chaos, Velto and Hazuki arrive. She announces that she's now the ruler of Akihabara, having gathered all 3 regalia. However, the citizens don't trust her and suspect her of being behind the recent disasters. She explains how Mag murdered Cornea and Goel, and how Velto saved her. Merrill scans her with his glasses, confirming her story, and urges the crowd to listen. Hazuki then announces the end of royal rule. There will be no more kings, and a city council will now govern Akihabara. Despite skepticism from the people, she remains firm. Afterward, Velto and his friends open the treasury and discover records related to the Dark Pierce. They take them home and learn that 2 members of the group are still alive. Hizuki transfers to Takahashi's school, and Velto compliments her new uniform. They celebrate the transfer, and she defeats him again in a rematch. He asks how she's adjusting, and she says she's doing well, even becoming famous after her speech in Akihabara.